Hey guys, welcome back to the Blazdar channel. I've been wanting to get to this video for a while. I've had a lot of notes, had a lot of ideas of what to put in it, but we've been doing a lot of traveling in between and haven't quite gotten to actually filming the test trip recap. So here it is, the test trip recap, and this is going to be a bunch of lessons we learned along the way, things that I think you'll find useful in your travels, or if you're not a traveler and you just enjoy watching our channel, just things you might find interesting about the RV life in general. So the main topics of this video will be video creation and editing, travel costs, travel planning, favorite gear, favorite locations, and then just lessons learned along the way. I saw other Jeff get a few things wrong, and I just wanted to correct a few of those right up front here. You're going to hear other Jeff talk about the costs of travel. So by far the most expensive thing is food. Of course, that's also one of our most expensive things when we're at home too, so not a big surprise. Didn't really talk about that too much. The second highest cost was actually campsites, campgrounds. So I think other Jeff focuses on Harvest Host and Boondockers Welcome as a way to save money, but there are other types of campgrounds, and that's state parks, BLM land, RV resorts. So there's a wide range of amenities and prices that you can find out there, and it really just depends what you want to have available to you, and sometimes how long you want to stay as well. So you can get weekly rates at some of the RV resorts, even monthly rates if you plan to stay for a long time. But your state parks are going to be super cheap. They're not always going to have full hookups. RV resorts generally have full hookups, probably the most amenities that you'll find. But like I said, when other Jeff starts talking here, he's mostly focusing on the Harvest Host and the Boondockers Welcome, just because they're kind of things that you might not be familiar with. All right, take it away, other Jeff. First of all, this was the trip that started our YouTube channel. So test trip, part of testing is testing our ability to film and edit. We learned a lot about our camera gear, editing along the way. Actually tried 3 different video editing softwares, 3 different softwares. Programs, that's what we did. We tried 3 different video editing programs along the way, and we settled on Adobe Premiere Pro. For our gear, we started primarily with a GoPro. So it's a GoPro Hero Black 11. At the time it was the newest GoPro out, but I think they have a Hero 12 now. But it's a great little camera. There's a few things that I really like about it, and a few things that, you know, we don't love about it, but it serves its purpose. It's been a great little camera, and we'll continue to use it in our future travels. We got the media kit, so that came with a case that has a built-in microphone. It came with a light that we're using right now. I actually didn't use it much during the trip, although I wish I had brought it for Carlsbad Caverns. And then it also came with kind of a handle / battery / tripod, the Volta. That actually was probably my favorite part of the GoPro, is with that connected, the battery would pretty much last all day. I wouldn't have to turn the camera on and off. Gave you a nice way to hold it and kind of change the perspective every now and then, but it kept the battery alive much longer than just the battery, so I wasn't having to charge and swap out batteries all day. Our other main camera were iPhones. I would say we didn't utilize the iPhones as much as we should have. I have an iPhone 13 Pro, and Honey Bunch has an iPhone 14 Pro. So both of them can take 4K video. They have a cinematic mode, which is great. It allows you to kind of control the focus. It's not perfect. It's not quite as great as the SLR camera. And the main complaint I've heard about using iPhones for filming on YouTube is the audio. So we mostly use it for B-roll, but the iPhone actually does a great job of kind of balancing the lighting and the coloring better, I think, than the GoPro. So there's a lot of things that we did film with the iPhone moving forward that I wish I had used instead of the GoPro. GoPro is great for action. It's great for stuff like this. I think it has a good microphone, but the iPhone does really great color balance, allows you to control the focus. So we started out with the Microsoft Surface tablet. It was the Surface Pro 8. It was a great computer. I got it so that I could do a mix of editing, personal work, and also a little bit of programming. Turns out it's not great for video editing. The graphics card is a lot less powerful than some of the other laptops you can get, specifically the MacBook Pro that we ended up with. I was originally using free software. It has a basic version that's free, and then you can pay, I think it was maybe $50 for an upgraded version. The software was great, but it was Windows specific, so it wasn't something I could continue to use when we got the MacBook. And as far as editing on that Windows Surface tablet, 4K video was nearly impossible. The video was super choppy and it was very difficult to edit. So then we switched to the MacBook Pro. Amazing computer, super powerful graphics card. The computer itself is a little expensive, but hopefully it'll last us a long time, something we can use for many years. We'll see about that, we'll keep you posted. We started out with the built-in Apple software, iMovie, and that was great. It was a pretty good editing experience. The main difficulty we had is that you can't have a lot of different layers on the timeline. So when you want to overlay video clips on top of another video clip or overlay a graphic on top, you're kind of limited to how much of that you can do. Alright, so our next category is travel costs. This is probably one of the big questions that people have when they look at full-time RVers or just anyone that's RVing. The RV itself was an initial cost. We've had this travel trailer now for about 3 years. So we had to buy a travel trailer and we bought a truck at the same time. So that was a big initial cost. It's not necessarily something that everyone needs to do to get into this. Some people already have a truck, and most mid-sized trucks or full-size trucks are capable of towing a travel trailer. You can start small and work your way up from there, but I'd say, you know, if you're not sure about it, just do what you can afford and get on the road and see if you like the lifestyle, and then you'll learn lessons along the way. We've certainly learned a lot about what we would look for in our next trailer. Don't let the cost of a new vehicle or a new trailer prevent you from getting out and traveling. I mean, you could even rent something or rent a camper van just to get out and just see some new places and see if you like the lifestyle, see if you like the experience. I think we ended up spending about $1,500. For the test trip, I did make a spreadsheet, which I'll share online, and I'll include a link here. What we did was track the cost of gas and our gas mileage. So I think we ended up paying about $3.57 per gallon on average, and our truck, I think, ended up getting, while we're towing, probably about 8.5, 9 miles per gallon, which sounds pretty bad, which is another reason why you might want to break your trips up into closer stops. And we utilize Harvest Host and Boondockers Welcome for that kind of thing, just for overnight stays. Minimize the number of gas stops that you have to make on a day. I will say, I wish, for only one reason, I wish we had a diesel truck, and that would be so we can go to truck stops. One of the biggest hassles when driving with a travel trailer is finding a gas station that has enough room for the travel trailer and maneuvering in and getting out. Some of the more crowded ones can be pretty difficult. A lot of times you need to find like the gas pump on the end. So if we could pull in with other trucks, hopefully not get in the way too much, but if we could pull into a truck stop and just kind of have a drive-through process, that would be much easier. But we don't, and it's not the end of the world. Again, I think don't let this kind of stuff stop you from getting into the RV life or just getting out on the road and traveling in general. So there's a wide range of campground prices and types of campgrounds that you can stay at. I already mentioned Harvest Hosts and Boondockers Welcome. So those are annual memberships that you can sign up for. And Harvest Hosts are things like wineries and breweries, churches, farms, really any type of business that has the space for travel trailers. They are overnight stays. It is boondocking, so no connections. Although on occasion they have connections for a small fee, maybe $10 or so. But otherwise the stay is free. The only thing that they ask is that you patronize the business. So they ask that you spend, I think it's now $30 they ask that you spend. So if you go to a winery, you buy a bottle of wine. If you go to a brewery, you buy a beer or a couple beers. We haven't found it difficult to reach our $30 threshold when we're at any of the Harvest Hosts, and really they've been really good experiences. Again, there's some we wouldn't go back to, and some we would certainly go back to and look forward to. But for the most part, we've enjoyed being members of Harvest Hosts, and we signed up last year and then renewed this year. So it is something that we're going to continue to do. Another part of Harvest Hosts is Boondockers Welcome, which was originally an independent service, but now it's like an add-on to the Harvest Host membership. So we did that, and Boondockers Welcome is actually on private property, so there's no requirement to spend any money there. We've only actually, I think, done 2 of them so far, but both have been great experiences. It's boondocking, as the name implies, so no connections or anything like that. But with Boondockers Welcome, you actually have the opportunity to stay multiple days. So that, again, it varies, and sometimes there are hookups available. So depending on where you're staying, you might see free water. We did heavily rely on the generator that's built into our F-150. I think I mentioned throughout the season that we got the F-150 Power Boost Hybrid, so it came with a 7.2 kilowatt generator built into the truck bed. So all you have to do is turn on the truck, plug in the trailer. In our case, we were able to run everything in the trailer. AC, microwave, could plug in toasters. Have not run into any issues with not having enough power for the appliances that we wanted to use. The way it works is the truck will use the battery power, and then whenever the battery needs to be recharged, the engine will automatically start. So the truck is running, although the engine isn't running full time, and you can turn off all the lights inside, lock the doors. So it's secure, and it just really provides a nice way to have power when you're on the road. So our last expense that is kind of a standard expense for us because we work on the road is internet. So we use Starlink internet. We did show some video of how that's set up, how it can be used. So I think the main things with Starlink is it is a monthly cost. You can suspend the service at any time, so you don't have to pay for it every month. We suspend it when we're not camping and just at home. The price did go up recently. When we signed up, it was $135 a month. Now it's $150. But regardless, it was something we needed, and it was reliable. We used it at every campground we stayed at, and luckily we weren't covered by trees. That's probably the only weakness that exists with Starlink services. If you don't have a clear view of the sky, then service is either interrupted or doesn't work at all. We did end up getting the Flagpole Buddy system, bought it online, and just a very simple setup, and that allowed us to kind of extend our satellite dish, or the dishy as Starlink calls it. So we were able to raise that above the roof of the trailer, and in some cases that got right over the low trees that are around the campgrounds. But it also comes, the kit that you order from Starlink comes with a tripod that you can set on the ground, or I originally thought we might set it on the roof, but it was a bit of a hassle. You had to climb the ladder twice every camping trip, and climbing the ladder while holding the dishy and the tripod is a little cumbersome and probably a little dangerous. So I think the flagpole system that we got from flagpolebuddy.com was a good investment and something we now rely on and use every trip. Whew, all right. That's been a lot of talking. Thanks for watching and keeping up with us so far. I know it's been a lot of information. It's not like our normal videos where we share a lot of travel highlights and hopefully a little more entertaining video. This one is mostly to share a lot of information. But let's take a break now, watch a compilation of Special K's highlights from Test Trip. She's probably the most entertaining parts of our trip and probably the most entertaining parts of our videos. So here you go. Hope you enjoy it.
When I was outside, the air felt like kind of fresh. And so they have like wild cows out here. They do.
Layla, you want some?
No, Jeffrey.
Okay.
My head's hurt. I don't know. There's just something about it that just draws me in. Hi guys, we're at the Golden Corral. Oh, Bobby. What was his name?
Rhyosaurus and her name's Triceratops.
Oh.
Jeez.
Well, I didn't know you were waiting for me.
All right, here we go. Rhyosaurus and...
Oh, I thought you were going to say it.
Okay. Take 3. Here we go. Rhyosaurus and...
Hi, stereotype.
Quick trip.
Please go donate to my cause. I'm at Jeffrey's.
We're sad.
Woo!
One of our favorite trip planning tools is RV Trip Wizard. It's great for planning your route so you can find your campgrounds, you can find gas stations, amenities. It has great reviews and kind of a good breakdown and filtering options for the campsites themselves. So I'll overlay a few shots of that, but that's by far my favorite trip planning tool. And again, Harvest Hosts, they have a website and an app that makes it very easy to search. You can either enter a route that you're going to have and it'll show you stuff along that path, or you can just search a specific location. You can filter by date, you can filter by the size of your trailer, whether they allow pets or they allow slide outs. I haven't really run into any that don't allow slide outs. There's a few that have said they don't allow pets, so it's just something to watch out for. Again, those Harvest Hosts are expecting you to be self-contained, boondocking, and they're just for overnight stays. Our favorite gear. There are certain things that we got along the way, some things that we already had that we knew we wanted to use, but for the most part, these things are our favorites because they make RVing easier. And the easier it is, the less cumbersome or the less difficult it is to live RV life, the more you're going to enjoy it. So my personal favorite is the LevelMate Pro. Part of setting up at a campsite is getting your RV level. Originally we started out with just standard leveling blocks, which are like Legos that you stack up and kind of roll the trailer onto them. And then we would use a bubble level and we would put it on the counter or on the floor. Strangely, our counter and our floor have different level readings, so I'm not sure which is actually level, but we would usually go somewhere in between. Another way you can tell if you're level is if you have any doors, like we have a door to our bathroom, so that door will kind of swing one way or the other if you're not level. But the LevelMate Pro is an electronic device. It connects to your phone via an app. You connect a receiver inside the trailer. You do some calibrating, so basically you get the trailer level using a bubble level, and then when you pull into sites in the future, you can just look on your app, and I'll overlay some of the functions here. On the app, it shows you how far you need to go to level your trailer. So that shows you left and right, whether you need to go up on either side, and also front to back, whether you need to raise or lower the tongue jack to get level. So that's my favorite thing. It has taken a lot of time out of that process and allows us to do it without having to go in and out of the trailer. Another one of my favorites, and this is more for sanitary reasons, is the Valterra valve that we attached to our sewer outlet, or our water outlet. So it's where we dump the gray water and the black water. That is a super simple thing. It was less than 20 bucks. It just attaches right onto the outlet. No tools necessary, but that gives you a watertight seal that you can open and close without having any drips. The typical situation that we dealt with and wanted to avoid was when you take off the cap, even though your tanks are closed, there's little valves for each tank, even though those tanks are closed, you end up having a little bit of water that has seeped out, and when you first open that cap, it drips out. Or in our case, one of our gray tanks, I think it doesn't seal completely. So there would be not a ton of water, but more than I wanted to deal with, and the Valterra valve has stopped anything from coming out. So that allows us to take off the cap, nothing drips out, attach the sewer hose, and then open the valve without having to deal with any leakage. It hasn't been sewage leakage ever that we dealt with. It was always gray water, but either way, it's a great product. One of Honey Bunch's favorite things is the X-Chocks. So kind of a misnomer. They're not really chocks from what I understand. You still have to chock your tires anytime you disconnect the trailer from your truck, but they help with the movement. They help prevent the movement. So you will notice if you do any RVing, or I think in any vehicle that you travel in, there's a lot of movement when other people walk, or even sometimes from the wind. And during the test trip, wind was something that we experienced in pretty much every place, especially in Texas. The X-Chocks are, I'll show a picture here, but they go in between your tires and you tighten them, so it prevents them from rolling just the little tiny bit that they move front and back when you are moving inside the trailer. If you're RVing solo, you probably would never even notice this, but when you have other people in the trailer walking around while you're sitting down or laying down, it's pretty noticeable. So the X-Chocks don't eliminate the movement, but they do help, and because of that, it's one of Honey Bunch's favorite gear items that we carry with us. This next one I've mentioned a lot. It's the truck generator that's built into our F-150. We used it anytime we were boondocking, any harvest hosts or boondockers welcome. You don't have to have a truck generator like we do. Lots of people just carry a generator in the back of their truck or in the pass-through. But when you're boondocking, it is a great way to provide power. Allows you to turn on the AC, which, especially if you have pets, having the air conditioning on during the day is probably a necessity. Another one of Honey Bunch's favorites is the under cabinet lights, or the magnetic cabinet lights that we added. So we invested in some magnetic lights that are, you just charge with USB, they're motion sensors. But what we noticed, that inside our pantry especially, it's very dark and it's kind of deep, so we do have some different containers that we use to kind of organize our food. But when you're, especially at night, or in the morning when you don't want to turn all the lights on if other people are still sleeping, these under cabinet lights are great because you reach your hand in there, or just when you open the cabinet, the motion is sensed and the lights turn on, and it's just enough to be able to see everything in there. Last thing I want to mention is something actually I wish we had done the day we bought the trailer, and that is replacing the shower head. It was super easy, inexpensive. I think we spent maybe $40 on the shower head that we got. We just bought it from Home Depot. But it improved water pressure a ton, and it was because of how easy it is and how useful it is, and something we use very often. And like I said, when you're RVing, the stuff that you use all the time, the easier it is, or the better it works, the more you're going to enjoy your trips and you're going to enjoy traveling in your RV. So the shower head that we got was super easy to replace, really easy to install. Basically just had to unscrew the existing shower head, put the new one back on. It was done in a matter of minutes. And yeah, when it comes to water pressure in the trailers, you do want to use a water pressure regulator. I think most of the trailers are rated for 50 psi, if I remember correctly. I've heard other people have safely gone up to 60, but you definitely want to look in your manual and see what they recommend. It's not like your home plumbing where you've got copper pipes or PVC pipes that are solid. The plumbing in trailers is PEX tubing, which is like flexible PVC, and it does have its limits when it comes to how much water pressure it can handle. So yeah, changing out the shower head was a huge improvement, and something I regret not doing years ago. The last two parts of our test trip recap are going to be about our favorite locations and a few lessons learned along the way, which is really what the test trip was about, was learning what we can handle, what we need to do, and what we like to do. So our favorite location, we look at that in two different ways. One, we have our favorite campground, and that was the Vineyards Cabins and Campgrounds in Grapevine, Texas. That's just outside of Dallas, and we spent 8 days there. What we liked about it were the large campsites. They were level, they were paved, so setup was very easy. The campground itself was very quiet, spread out. We enjoyed this campground a lot because it was lakefront, so it had beautiful views. We actually were on a peninsula, so outside almost every window we were looking at water. And they had an off-leash area for dogs. Like they didn't call it a dog park, they called it Puppy Point. But it was great. It was isolated, you know, you didn't have to worry about other people complaining about your dog being off-leash. It's not something that every campground has. You generally have to keep your pets on a leash, and as a pet owner, as a dog owner, I appreciate that. Layla isn't the most social dog. She's friendly, but she doesn't always mind her manners when it comes to running up to other dogs and Not everyone's a fan of having their dogs approached by other dogs. Puppy Point was great, and Layla enjoyed jumping in the lake, which is rare for her. She's not a big fan of water, but Layla did enjoy Puppy Point at Vineyards Cabins and Campground in Grapevine, Texas. Another thing we liked about that is that it was a Good Sam park. So Good Sam is another annual membership that you can get. It gives you 10% off at lots of campgrounds around the country. It's associated with Camping World, so you do get a discount at Camping World if you have to buy any gear or replacement parts, which is something we've had to do along the way. They do send a lot of emails, which you can unsubscribe if you want. I haven't unsubscribed yet just because I like to see what kind of deals they're offering, but you know, kind of makes me think of them as Good Spam instead of Good Sam. But either way, that is something we renewed this year as well. We do enjoy the membership, and it's nice to get a discount at lots of different campgrounds. Our favorite city that we visited along the way was Phoenix, and actually the surrounding suburbs. We spent most of our time in Fountain Hills and Scottsdale, and we just enjoyed that because of the number of activities that were around us. So we went to baseball games, we drove go-karts. They did have a lot of shops that we're not used to in our little town of Durango. So that is someplace we've even considered moving to. We stayed at Eagle View RV Resort, which is actually in Fort McDowell, but it's not too far from Fountain Hills. And yeah, like I said, we spent most of our time in Fountain Hills and Scottsdale, and we just loved all the different activities that we were able to do while we were there. So a few of the big lessons we learned while we were on the road. Some of them we learned the hard way. Some of them were just things we were trying out, and we just figured out and had the opportunity to educate ourselves. One, and I know I mentioned this in our last video, there's a little section about the key incident. Never quite explained what happened to the key, but the lesson learned is bring a spare key. We ended up spending, I think, close to $400 to replace the key fob for our truck. And what happened was, honest mistake, could have happened to anybody, but we were at Costco and needed to use the bathroom at Costco, and at the end of using the bathroom, for some reason, somehow, the key went down the toilet and was flushed. So probably not something that is a common occurrence, but regardless, I'd recommend bringing a spare key. And that goes for your tow vehicle as well as your trailer. You never know what's going to happen, and it always helps to be prepared. And I'll finish with probably one of the biggest personal lessons that I learned. If you're going to go on a hike, stay on the trails. In the last video that we recorded when we were in Phoenix, I did some off-trail hiking. Certainly not recommended, but there was a hill, mountain, it wasn't a mountain, it was a large hill that I wanted to climb to the top of. Just kind of get some nice shots. We don't have a drone, so if you want some aerial view, then you have to climb up a hill. But there were a lot of bugs, a lot of thorns. I think it might have actually been private property. Don't tell anybody that. It was not as enjoyable as a hike on a trail would have been. There were a lot of thorns, there were a lot of spiders, a lot of high grass and stuff that, yeah, I don't recommend hiking through. And then the scariest part, if you couldn't see it on my face, was when I ran into a rattlesnake. A lot of people think the rattlesnake was just a sound effect because I did not do a good job of actually capturing video footage of the rattlesnake, mostly because I was scared and running away. But that was real. All right. That's a rattlesnake. Like I said, let's go around this way. It's logical to think that it was a sound effect because we had, the chicken clucking sound effect when we had our, when we were counting the number of times that Special K said Chick-fil-A in the first episode. Layla and Lucy wouldn't always make noise on cue, so we had some dog and cat sound effects. But the rattlesnake was real. That was not a sound effect, and I was really scared. So you can probably tell if you go back and watch that video that I'm kind of leisurely walking around, talking to the camera. I see the rattlesnake, and then the rest of that hike, my footsteps are moving a lot faster, and I was happy to be done with it. In general, in the test trip, we learned a lot. We tested ourselves, we tested our equipment. I think for the most part we passed the test and decided that it is something we want to continue to do. And as far as filming goes and sharing our adventures with you, it's something we really enjoy, and we hope you enjoy watching it with us. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the YouTube videos or check out our website at blaisdauer.com. Admittedly, I haven't done a great job of keeping up with the blogs. We are going to use Instagram a lot more, and that'll feed to our website as well. So we're just looking for different ways to share experience and hopefully inspire and motivate you to get out on the road and see everything that our country has to offer. There's a lot of beautiful things out here. National parks are one of our favorites, and we did end up buying that annual national park pass, so I'd recommend going to any national park you have around you. I think even the parks that we hadn't heard of or didn't know anything about, we were always surprised by everything they offered, and as soon as you get there, it's pretty obvious why they are a national park and why they should be preserved. If you have any questions or any comments, anything that you want to see in future videos, we do plan to do a walkthrough of our RV and kind of show you how we set it up and just give you an idea of what our travel trailer is like. It's a Grand Design Imagine 2800 BH for bunkhouse. That's about it for our recap. Thanks for joining us on our adventures, and we'll see you on the road.